What's going on, everybody? My name is Aiden and welcome back to another video. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to quickly discuss the Ring of Honor ceremony that the Chicago Bulls are putting on and a lot of people returning back to the United Center, while also discussing some injury updates ahead of the Bulls and the Warriors game. Again, it's been a very interesting, 2 days for the Chicago Bulls, you could say. Obviously, an interesting night. It's going to be, or an interesting afternoon, I should say. It's going to be a very interesting night when the Bulls take on the Warriors as well. But before we get any further, if you like the video and you want to see more from me, drop a like, drop a follow, and or subscribe if you are new, and let me know in the comments below your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls and, this Ring of Honor ceremony. Do you think this should be a common thing going around not only the Bulls franchise, but the NBA in general? And also, just again, everything that you may believe about this Ring of Honor ceremony and the injury updates ahead as well. Let's start off with this Ring of Honor ceremony. So, if you guys don't know what this is basically a ceremony where the Chicago Bulls basically celebrate, the former players, coaching staff, and everybody that's made a huge significant factor or huge significant impacts in the Chicago Bulls franchise. And they've started off with, of course, a lot of familiar faces. As an Australian, I very much like the fact that Luke Longley is in the United Center, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating, of course, in this Ring of Honor ceremony and stuff of that nature. Apparently, he hasn't been to Chicago for a long, long time. And as an Australian, it brings a smile to my face. And it must be a big thing for a lot of people because I must admit, I didn't have the luxury to watch the Chicago Bulls win their championships. I just didn't. When I grew up as a Chicago Bulls fan, it was in the D-Rose era, and we haven't really gotten close to winning a championship in that D-Rose era. Maybe the Eastern Conference Finals with that 1 year. But other than that, it's not necessarily been a massive successful period for the Chicago Bulls. But those players that are getting recognition today, are players that won championships. And for those people that had the honor to watch the Chicago Bulls win championships during that time, how amazing it must have felt and everything in between, this is probably going to be a big day for a lot of you. And here's the thing as well. This should be an ongoing theme for the rest of the NBA. I truly believe it as such. I don't know if there's any other teams doing something like this. I feel like the Bulls are probably the only ones that are doing something like this. But I feel like every team should be following suit for a couple of reasons. One, again, these players put a lot on the line, especially back in the 90s as well, when it was a much more physical game, playing much more aggressively. The medicine and science wasn't necessarily there to help keep these players having a long, sustainable career. Some of these guys ended their careers early to play, and try to win championships and stuff of that nature. And I feel like, yes, getting the ring is great, but there's going to be a lot of guys around the league that has not won a championship that should get some recognition outside of either being a Hall of Famer or just being, not recognized whatsoever. Again, I feel like more representation of, showing players these respects for the amount of time they put into it. Of course, there's the whole thing of, they earn money as well. I get that, but still, I think it's a very nice thing for the organizations to do, to start representing some of those players that might not get the same recognition as they would get, by winning a championship. Again, to kind of give an example, I think of some of the great players that played on the Denver Nuggets over the course of their history, and they only won a championship last season. That was their first ever championship. I'm thinking of teams like the Portland Trail Blazers back in the 90s, and some of the great players that played for their team, Clyde Drexler as an example, some of the Houston Rockets teams back in the day, the New York teams back in the day, that had all these great players that, yes, they never won championships, and I understand that, but they were still massively strong players that made massively strong impacts for the rest of the league. And these guys, in my opinion, should get a little bit more recognition from the organizations, and they should be starting to do some of these things as well. And that's what I like about it for the Bulls as well. Because again, outside of the 90s, there's a lot of players in the 2000s that I think should get recognition, especially the D-Rose era. The Joakim Noahs, the Luol Dengs, the Jimmy Butlers, the Derrick Rose, the Kirk Heinrichs, and all these guys, Tom Thibodeau as well as the coach. Everything in between. I think these guys should get recognition for the Chicago Bulls. They made some very strong, significant impacts to this organization. They brought the love back into the Chicago Bulls that was probably missing in those early 2000 seasons, if you know what I mean. But those guys didn't win a championship. Most of those guys won't be considered Hall of Famers. So at the end of the day, it's going to be nice to experience that type of emotion if they could do this on a yearly basis or at every 2 year basis, whatever they decide to do. And I think that should go for every team in the NBA. So that's why I think it's important. And I'm glad the Chicago Bulls are doing this. I think it's a great idea. I'm glad that the players and the coaching staff got more involved in it and participated in it and made sure that it would be a special event. And I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of it with the Golden State Warriors game. And once that game takes place, and hopefully the Bulls can have extra incentive to win that game, knowing there's I guess an ally and an enemy in Steve Kerr that's going to be on the Warriors bench. So let's hope we can walk away with a win there and not spoil the evening for the other Bulls players that will probably be attending that game. But let's turn over to the injury updates. I think, again, fair play to the Chicago Bulls. There's a lot to complain about. You could complain about the ownership. You could complain about the front office. You could complain about the coaching. You can complain about the players. I think this specific event is something that no one should be complaining about. I think it's a great idea, and every team, even teams like the Lakers and Celtics that have won bunches and bunches of championships, they should be looking at doing stuff like this as well. To be fair, some people make statues and whatnot, but again, there are certain underrated guys that will probably never get the recognition unless it's your team themselves doing the recognition. You know what I mean? It is what it is. But let's move over into the injury update. So, for the Bulls, there's actually not much to talk about here. Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso, the two guys that were listed as probable and questionable in the last game, is playing today. As far as I'm aware, they are not on the injury report. It's just Torrey Craig, Alonzo Ball. But we have to move on to the Warriors because they have a lot of injuries. Let's start off with Moses Moody, who's going to be out with a calf injury against the Chicago Bulls. Again, a lot of people actually like Moses Moody if you're a Bulls fan. People are looking at him as a potential trade target for Zach LaVine. So it's going to suck to kind of see him not participate in this game. Obviously, we know about the Draymond Green situation. He is listed as out against the Bulls as well. Hopefully he can come back soon. Again, as much as a lot of people are really having a go at Draymond Green for all the things that he's doing around the league and how aggressive he has been and stuff of that nature, I just think the league is just not the same without a guy like Draymond Green. Yes, he might need to tone it down a little bit, but to not have him in the league completely, I don't know about that one. I think I'd rather have him in the league and being a trash talker, maybe not the violent part, than not having him in the league at all. So we'll wait and see how that goes. Chris Paul obviously had surgery recently with a broken hand, I believe, or a fractured hand. He'll be out of this game against the Bulls as well. I think he'll be out for quite some time. And then obviously a very solid defender in Gary Payton Jr. is going to be listed as out with a left hamstring injury or strain, a grade 2 left hamstring strain. So it seems like a big injury there, and he'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. I'm not sure when that was last updated, but again, for the Bulls side of things, we only versed the Warriors twice. I don't think we versed the Warriors anytime soon after this game. We'll see what happens in the next one out. But a lot of big injuries for the Golden State Warriors. You can kind of see why they are up and down at the moment with the amount of injuries they have. Not a full team healthy. Will they be able to come back from this? I'm not too sure. But for the Bulls, we're on a 3-game winning streak. I think this is a good opportunity to make it 4. We usually defend home court well. We'll have extra incentive knowing that there's a lot of Bulls legends that are going to be in the arena. And of course, you want to have a good home stand before you get out to the road. And out on the road is, the San Antonio Spurs. And we don't do that well away from home. So I think this is a golden opportunity to take advantage of a home game before we go out west. So let's wait and see what ends up happening. But that's going to be my video today. Thank you for watching. Drop a like and a follow. And or subscribe if you are new. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for more. Take care. And peace.